Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Timo Parker. I'm a vocal coach and I'm here to help you to improve your singing voice. In today's video, I want to talk about a question that I get a lot, which is, in what position should your larynx be in when you are singing? So let's take a look at this question and let's also explore if there's something like too high or too low. In case you're new to this channel, welcome. I always try to look at singing from an anatomical standpoint and I look at all the muscles that are involved into the singing process. So if you haven't watched any of my previous videos, this might be helpful to understand what I'm talking about in this video. You can head over to this playlist where I talk about the most important muscles. So if you haven't seen any previous videos, but also as a little recap in case it has been a while, our larynx, which is actually the whole construct in our throat, the thing that can move is the thyroid cartilage, is attached to two major muscles. It is the swallowing muscle and the yawning muscle. When we swallow, the thyroid cartilage goes up, and when we yawn, the thyroid cartilage goes down. And now the question is, what is the best position for your larynx to be in when you are singing? And the answer is, it depends. Let's first talk about the extremes. Is there too high or too low for your thyroid cartilage to be in when you are singing? Okay, let's take the more important thing, which is there too high for your thyroid cartilage? Yes, to make it very short. So basically, the thyroid cartilage is connected to the swallowing muscle that I've just mentioned before, and the swallowing muscle is connected to the thyroid cartilage and to your hyoid bone. So that means if this muscle is very stiff and it pulls the thyroid cartilage very high into your throat, it can actually make contact with the hyoid bone, which lies on top, and then you compress your thyroid cartilage. So it's the thyroid cartilage, then you have a membrane in between this one and the hyoid bone that is on top. And if your thyroid cartilage is too high in your throat, first of all, you will feel it because most of the times we tense up, and that is one major reason why it goes up. But the other reason is that we feel this sound is stuck in our throat and we are like struggling to get a sound out because we are literally compressing our instrument. It doesn't sound very nice, and also it is not very healthy for your voice. So short answer, yes, there is a too high. But on the other hand, is there a position where the thyroid cartilage is too low? Yes and no. So theoretically speaking, since your thyroid cartilage is connected to your yawning muscle, which attaches here in the uvula and goes to the thyroid cartilage, it is actually possible when the yawning muscle is well trained that your thyroid cartilage can go all the way down here into your uvula. And it can park all the way down here, which per se is not really a problem. So there, anatomically speaking, it is not bad to have it in the lowest position possible. But if we are forcing our thyroid cartilage in a very low position, then we are running into problems. And what I mean by that is we have a muscle in our throat, which is the sternohyoid muscle. So it's the muscle that connects on the sternum here and goes all the way up to the hyoid bone. It's a very long muscle. And when we contract this muscle, and you can also feel that something is tensing up here, we are actually pushing down the thyroid cartilage. You can try that you can push down your thyroid cartilage by tensing up your tongue. And you feel a movement here, and you can also feel your thyroid cartilage moving. So when we are doing this, we are contracting this muscle, and because it's connected to the hyoid bone, we push the hyoid bone down. And the hyoid bone, because there's just this little membrane between hyoid bone and thyroid cartilage, we can actually push down the larynx from the top with the hyoid bone because this long muscle contracts. And that is not very healthy. And most of the times we're using this muscle unconsciously when we are trying to imitate this yawning sound. So especially when you start bringing your thyroid cartilage into a lower position and you're tensing up this long muscle, you can run into problems because you're compressing your thyroid cartilage by lowering the hyoid bone by contracting this long muscle. So theoretically, your thyroid cartilage can never be too low, but if you force it too low by engaging this muscle and pulling your hyoid bone down, so you're compressing the instrument from the top once again, then you can run into problems, and that is something that we have to be aware of. So now I want to come to the question, is there a perfect position for your thyroid cartilage to be in when you're singing? And the answer depends on what sound you are going for. So first of all, we have to make sure that our thyroid cartilage stays in a position where we cannot hurt ourselves. And that is normally in the mid position or in the lower position in our throat. So in general, I would try to avoid to have the thyroid cartilage all the way up here. So anything from here downwards is fine. And it just depends what you want. So if you put your thyroid cartilage in a very low position, by the way, this is something that you have to train. That's not something that happens overnight. So that there's a lot of training involved. But if you are able to do that, chances are that your instrument is pretty open. So that means that the distance between the vocal cords and false vocal cords is pretty big, and in between we have a room called the laryngeal ventricle, which is our sound room in our instrument. This is where the sound gets created. And if this room is very open, you have a bigger instrument. So that means there's a greater potential for bigger sounds and also for more overtones. So this is especially interesting for classical singers, to have the biggest sound room possible and also the biggest resonance possible. But for example, in pop music, that's not something that we necessarily need, because we have one byproduct by having our thyroid cartilage in a very low position, and that is that the sound gets very dark. So when, for example, when I try to yawn and I speak, you can already hear that the sound gets much darker, right? So this is something that we might not want in a pop song, because even though we maybe get more sharpness in by adjusting certain things in our throat, it will still have the overall darker color. And some people just don't like it, and that's okay. So that means that for you, the thyroid cartilage shouldn't be all the way down here, and it should be maybe a bit higher in your throat, let's say in a comfortable mid position. But it should never go all the way up here, where you have the danger of compressing your instrument. So when you are singing, you can use this instrument and the flexibility, because if we think about it, that's a great distance that the thyroid cartilage can cover here, and we can use that to express ourselves. So my philosophy is, as long as you don't hurt yourself, you're free to do whatever you want. Music has no rules, so go for it. Just make sure that you're not hurting yourself and you're not compromising your instrument, because over time we want to grow this instrument. We want to make it stronger and bigger. And now we come to a point that is very important. So for example, if you're practicing, if you do vocal exercises, some of them I actually show already in the playlist, so you can check it out there. When we are doing vocal exercises, we want to do things that help us to grow our voice and to grow our sound room and to overall develop our voice. So that means, if we know already that the extreme version of having our thyroid cartilage in a very low position holds the greatest potential of a very open throat, of a very open instrument, this is, in my opinion, something that you should train with pretty much all the time when you're doing vocal exercises. So when you, for example, singing scales, and when you do other exercises that help you to develop your voice, you should focus on the things that you can't do yet. And for most people, let's say 99% of people that want to develop their voice, it is more difficult to have the thyroid cartilage in a very low position, because this is a muscle that we have to train over time, the yawning muscle, and it is way easier to leave the thyroid cartilage in the same position or just let it creep up. And that's why it is really important that you do vocal exercises with the right focus. So maybe even though you wouldn't use the very open and yawny sound, you train that sound, because this is going to help you to improve your instrument, to grow your instrument. Because if you are, for example, able to keep your thyroid cartilage down here while you sing a high note, chances are, because it's easier, you can also do that while your thyroid cartilage is in a higher position. And I hope this can help you a little bit to find the right position for you, for the sound that you are going for. So when you're practicing, try to practice the extremes, things that you can't do yet, and in your song just make sure that your thyroid cartilage doesn't go up all the way and you still have a relaxed and nice feeling when you are singing. That is really important. Alright, I hope this video answered the question on where your thyroid cartilage should be, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to like it and also subscribe to my channel. I have more voice content planned on this channel. And also, if you are interested in working with me, make sure to check out the link below to my website, where you can book individual classes in where we can focus on your individual goals, and I can help you developing your voice and grow your instrument. Alright, thank you so much for watching, and I see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.